Nice to meet you, and thank you for having time with us today. Could you introduce yourself a little bit to our audience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm Bjorn. I work for Nordost, and I do wear dual hats. I'm heavily involved in the R&D and product development, as well as traveling around, having contacts with distributors, and doing the sales and product training, explaining what the products are meant to be do, and sometimes it is very important to explain what they're not meant to do. So a lot of that is going on.
To start things off, there's a question on my mind since the start of these conversations, and because like Nordost is always synonym with ultra high-end cable, and I think to make a high-end cable there are three factors. The conductor is the material, the structure is the geometry, and the third one is shielding and insulation. So what is Nordost's approach to these three factors, and which one is the most important for the high-end quality sound?
As with any strong foundation, it is a collective. The collective is the important factor. I quite often say the analogy with the car industry, and some people say that the cables are like the tires, and then there is somebody else coming around and say, no, the cables are like the suspension. And in reality, without suspension, the car is not going to work. Without tires, the car is not going to work. So you need to have a collective that is very, very strong. And the same thing goes for, of course, it is important to have very good quality material. We use very pure, high-grade, various amounts of nines of the purity of the copper. And we also use very advanced cable geometries. We also use very advanced shielding technologies. The important factor for us is to define in what situation the best solution is. What amount of material, what cable geometry to use, and what shielding technology to use. That's why if you look through our products, you will see that the speaker cable looks very different compared to the power cord, which looks very different compared to the interconnect. And even between interconnects, our digital interconnects looks one way and the analog looks another way. So it is the collective. It's never only one factor that makes the difference here. At least not the way we look at things. It is the collective of making a perfect product.
So, for example, a lot of people will say, okay, so it is OCC or OFC, it will sound warm, or the silver, they will sound very fast, transient, but bright. So, what is your answer to this question?
The way a conductor sounds has more to do with the actual drawing of the cable, how big the diameter is in that particular situation, and also the dielectric. For instance, when we don't have silver cables per se, we have silver plating around a very heavy copper core. So the majority of all our cables are copper. But for various reasons, we do use silver on the surface, especially when we talk about our monofilament dielectric or insulation, where we use air as a very important component. And air is, even though our products are made in class-rated rooms in terms of particles, it's very, very clean air. But even that, sooner or later there will be particles that can contaminate the surface. Silver oxide is very, it doesn't pollute the sound, and which copper oxide does. So that is the single reason why we do have a silver plating around that. It has nothing to do with the sound. It has to do with the construction, again, to make sure that we have a very long-lasting, long-term product that sounds the same year after year after year.